Okay, so I'm going to start with the bottom one on number 5 here, and there is definitely copper in this. And I don't know if you can see it, or if I can get a nice shot of it in this lamp, but around the ridge where the retainer ring is, if you can see right in here around the edge and around the bottom, there's copper. And that's copper chunks from my Cleveite 77s, which shaved off and spun and is now inside my my hydraulic lifter. So I've got to take this apart, and first part of taking it apart is to remove that retainer ring. So you have to be able to push the center down a little bit, and you can use pliers or a pick. Just be gentle with it because you don't want to scratch your lifter. And pop the side of the retaining clip up, turn it around, pop the retaining clip up on the other side. And then I am going to use a tiny set of pliers to gently remove the retaining clip while I'm holding down the inside. Okay, and that actually popped up pretty nice and easy there. So this one is not stuck. They should move. This one moves quite well. I put some WD-40 on them yesterday to get them to move a little bit because the very first one I took apart took me 20 minutes to get apart. And once I figured out how to get them apart, and my mentor and friend Alex told me to put some WD-40 in them, they came apart easier. But if you see right here, we can see the copper. Let's see if I can actually get that in focus on the camera. I have a light here. There it is. Okay, so there's copper right there. I don't think it wants to focus, but I'm going to take it off with a swab. You see the copper. Okay, so I need to clean these out because if that copper is inside of them, when we reassemble my engine, it's just going to end up back inside my engine, and it'll foul and ruin my rebuild in the new parts. So we could buy new lifters, but I don't know about anyone else who works on these vehicles. Parts are expensive, and the more things that you can save and salvage and use and recycle, the further things go. And I get very tired of people telling me that driving an old vehicle isn't green and that it's environmentally unfriendly and that I should get an electric car or a hybrid. And I have nothing against the people who that's how they know how to help the environment. But the way I like to help the environment is by reusing and rebuilding and maintaining and fixing things that break. That way my footprint stays smaller. I won't get into the politics of things, but it is anyone who tells you that repairing an old vehicle isn't good for the environment, they're only looking at part of the picture, and they're only looking at the emissions that a gasoline or diesel engine might make. They're not thinking about the overall impact it costs to actually manufacture an entirely new vehicle every so many years and all of the parts to maintain it. So I took the top of the lifter out. I now need to take the center out, and they're a little harder to get out. This is why I needed the WD-40. I found that I can stick my finger in there and pretty much just pull it straight out. And you can see that there's a lot of oil in here. It's been diluted with the WD-40, so it comes apart a little easier. And I'm not done. I have to take this piece apart. And there's a spring down in here that we want to pull out, and it's stuck. It was sticky, so the oil's like honey in there, so it was kind of stuck in there. But I've got these pieces apart, and there's also oil and sludge in there, so I'm going to need to clean that out. And I can give these a wipe, and then I'm going to soak them in mineral spirits, but I have to get everything apart first. So the top of this piece of the inside of the lifter, this also comes apart. So to get this apart, I'm going to use the pick again, and this is just held on by pressure. So I put the side of the pick in the top, and I set it down, and I just give it a little twist, and it pops right apart. And there is a small ball bearing and then a teeny tiny spring that the ball bearing sits on top of. So these also have to be clean. So these are all of the pieces of my lifter that have to be cleaned and reassembled, and there's 16 of them. So I have actually found this to be a rather relaxing and cathartic process once I got past that first one, which frustrated the heck out of me. There are lots of videos out there on YouTube of wonderful people showing you how to do this, so you know it's not just mine. My adage here will probably be to you that I have a disability called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and oftentimes I cannot use my hands. So the tools that I'm using, if I can use these and I am handicapped with a disability in my hands, if you have weak hands because you have arthritis or you're aging or you've overused or injured your hands over your life, and a lot of people as they age end up giving up wrenching on their cars because of physical issues. I've had them my whole life, and if it's something that I can do with my hands, you can probably do it with yours. So these tools are all very simple. These lifters come apart really easy. And if I wasn't able to get my finger in there and lift out the inside with suction, I could use a smaller magnet. Right now, my smaller magnet is in my tool bag because I use it for picking parts out of my engine bay, and it's more energy for me to dig it out than it is to just stick my finger in there. So I am placing the pieces in a little bowl of mineral spirits after I have wiped them, and that will help degrease them. I was using I think it's Chemical or Chem Brothers carburetor dip to clean them yesterday, and that process was working well, but I dropped the can because that was not light. So today inside my house I am using a little bowl of mineral spirits, and I can already see I'm using a white bowl on purpose because I want to be able to see what falls off of these pieces in the bowl. And I can already see that there's little tiny metal shavings coming off here. Eventually, I will be cutting open the oil filter, and we'll be looking at what the inside of the oil filter looked like when my engine finally, I don't want to say blew up, but it blew all the oil out of it. The oil pump clogged, and I was on turnpike going about 75 miles an hour, and my oil pressure went to 0. And I pulled over immediately when I saw it. I got out and had no oil, and it was all over the underside of the truck. I did not end up immediately with the knock, or I didn't crack my block. There was no visual damage to the outside of the engine, and I couldn't even hear anything wrong with it. Of course, she's pretty loud, but I didn't hear anything. But I knew I put oil in her, and she held pressure for a while, and as soon as I put her in gear, she lost it again and blew the oil out. So I was time to call a tow truck. So my mentor and friend Alex told me that if you cut your oil filters open when you do your oil changes, and you look through the filter media, if you have parts inside your engine that are breaking down, you will see it in your oil filter. And that makes sense because when we took my engine apart and we finally took everything out, it was full of copper. And I have the videos posted that show that. So if I don't, I will. I've been slow to post videos over the last few months. Kind of damaging my truck has been a little bit depressing, and we had some life issues come up and health issues. I was in the hospital in June, so just kind of rolling these around gently a little bit. I'm going to take them out piece by piece, and I'm going to wipe them with a clean cloth, making sure everything's nice and clean. And if I'm still getting oil on the lint-free shop rag, then I need to wipe them better. But that's nice and clean. And my gloves are an extra large because to save money, we bought like a case of them, and my husband has extra large hands. He's a big guy. And I don't have medium ones, and I'm a medium, so I really need to just buy myself a box of medium-sized nitrile gloves so that I'm not dealing with the loose fingertips on the gloves. You just clean the inside by sticking the tip of the rag in there, wiping it, make sure it's nice and clean. Now, some lifters, I've seen videos of, there's a plate here that comes off. This does not come off of mine, and it is hollow in the top so that oil can flow in and out of it. So I am going to flush some mineral spirits through that a little bit to make sure that there's no copper pieces in there by agitating it in the mineral spirits. I really don't want to end up with little copper flakes inside my engine. When we took the engine out, we found out that my distributor had not been tightened down, and it was bouncing around, and I was getting pre-detonation, and so my engine was running really, really rich. I also did not have an oxygen sensor installed. That hadn't been done, and I kept putting it off because I needed to take it to a shop to have the O2 sensor bung welded in. And I put it off for too long. So those things in combination were kind of a bad deal. But the bonus is this is something I've wanted to learn to do since I was about 3.5 years old. And now I'm actually getting to learn to do it because I could throw a new engine in this truck, or a different engine. I don't want to. The engine that was in her was built by Frank Forsyth, a Forsyth hot rod in California, and I bought the truck from Charles Littlewood and Denise Messenger, and I absolutely love the truck and the engine and the way it sounds, and that's what I want back. So in preserving the engine that I had, I want back what I had. So I'm going to use a brush here to make sure that the inside of this is nice and clean. And I'm going to wipe it. I also used a swab there to make sure that the inside of that little oil hole is nice and clean. I'm going to use the brush on the inside of this one too. The bottom of the inside of this lifter is textured, and it has indented rings around it, retaining rings and pass rings so that the oil can flow through. You want to make sure that there's nothing stuck in there, and for me it's primarily the concern of the bits of metal that came off my bearings, and you can see them accumulating in the bowl as I clean these. I think it's about time for a fresh shop rag. And I have these cut into quarter-size sheets just because that's how I'm using them. They tear off at a fine size, but I find it easier to manipulate a quarter of the sheet at a time with my hands than the whole thing. Okay, it looks nice and clean. I don't know if you can see the inside there, but yeah, there we go. We're nice and clean. a different brush here that I'm just going to brush around the inside here. Make sure that anything that's in there that could be loose will come out if I agitate it again. And this is my first time doing this, so if anybody knows exactly how to get this apart, that maybe these do come apart and I'm just ignorant to that, I would love to know. So feel free to make a comment, message me, send me a video, you know, or a link to a video. A whole love here for this is learning. I have an absolute passion and love for the 73 to 91 Suburbans, and I will always have one. They are home to me, and they are my happy place. So learning about them, and I know quite a bit about them, but this is part that I know nothing about, and I've always wanted to learn. So anything anyone's willing to share, I am willing to learn. I had one of these the other day that had a lot of this black, it looked like a burn on the outside, but it wasn't. It came off with a Scotch-Brite. So it had to have just been oil, but nice and clean. Okay, so now I have to reassemble, and we can see all of the lovely little metal chunks that actually came out in this bowl. So reassembly time. Okay, so I'm going to start with the main piece. Actually, I'm going to start with this one, because this little guy here, and I'm going to take my gloves off. I have diminished sensation in my hands, and I have severe nerve damage in my left hand due to reconstructive surgery. So it's very hard for me oftentimes to feel what I'm actually doing. So these are clean. They don't have chemicals on them right now. I'm still wearing my safety glasses in case something springs apart on me. But I put the spring back in the retainer, and then I put the ball bearing on top of it, and then I'm going to snap this right into place where it goes. And that's all. They just snap together. Not a lot of pressure. Tool not required. Snaps nicely together. Okay, and then the spring goes on the bottom here, and this guy goes in here. Now, these can go together dry. Mine, I was told that they can go into the engine dry. I am putting a teeny tiny bit of WD-40 on the spring, and when I'm done, I'm wiping them with WD-40 because I do not want them to rust when they are. I'm gonna wipe it on this guy too while they are in the box waiting to go back in my engine. And they're gonna be in my house this time instead of in my shed, so hopefully they won't rust, but that goes in nice and easy, and it should be loose and springy. It shouldn't be tight, it shouldn't be hard. Okay, and then I'm gonna put the top piece back in. And again, should be nice and springy. You see how nice and springy that is? And then I have my retaining clip. Now you have to hold this down while you put the retaining clip back in. There's a few ways to do that. Most people will tell you to use the old push rod to do it. Mine are loose enough that I'm able to use my fingers. If I'm not using my push rod, I'm using the back of a pencil eraser because it's soft and it won't score the inside of the lifter. I've had people say, "Oh yeah, use a screwdriver, you know, use your pick." No, I don't want to use anything metal on the inside of this because I don't want to create any scratches or scores that I don't have to. I can use a pair of pliers to put this retaining clip in if I need to, but I've been able to do most of them with just my fingers and push them right back in, and that's it. He's together and he's clean. And I'm gonna take a little bit of the WD-40, and I'm just gonna give that a wipe and a coat, and then I'm gonna place them in a nice clean quarter of a shop rag. And I double check the spot in my box that he came out of, which was the bottom of number 5, And we're going to go over to the clean lifter box, and we are going to set him right into the bottom of number 5. So I've got 7 more to do.